What you say now?
Hello, Luvani. Your microphone is unmuted, just so you know. Good evening and welcome, though.
Good evening.
Hi, how are you doing? Welcome. Okay, I think it's enough time. Good evening again to everyone. My name is Audrey St. Louis Jack, Corporate Communications Specialist for the Princess Juliana International Airport. I'll turn this meeting. It's the public outreach campaign where we're trying to reach out to more of the community, what we're doing as far as the airport terminal reconstruction project updates. So I'll turn the meeting over to the project management unit. That's the PMU. They're responsible for this project, this long anticipated project that everybody is so excited about. Okay, Damian Schmidt is a project coordinator. I'll have everybody introduce themselves. Is that okay, guys?
Yeah, that should be fine.
Okay, go right ahead. Damon, we can start with you and then we go over to the others.
Perfect. Good evening all. As Audrey mentioned, my name is Damian Schmidt. I am one of the project coordinators on the project. This evening, we'll be, as Audrey mentioned, we'll be giving a quick presentation. Well, it's not quick, but it will be giving a presentation, of course, on the update of the project and basically taking you down the path of where we're at and where we plan to be.
Thank you very much, Luvani.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Luvani Clark. I'm also one of the project coordinators for the project.
Michelle. Okay, I think we're having a little trouble with Michelle. Is Mito present on the call? Mr. Brill?
Good afternoon, Audrey. I am here. I'm in the back today. Damien's going to take the forefront and do the presentation. But I would like to welcome everybody to the presentation tonight, and I do appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. As a PMU director. Okay, we can go now over to our participants. I see Miss Irma Gums. Would you like to say good evening? It's a small group, so I'll just name everyone. It's Irma Gums from the South Reward Community Council. We have Dustin Alexander from the Beacon Hill Association, the Pride of Beacon Hill. Ishira Cecilia as well from the South Reward Community Council. And Eve, hope I get this right, Levinstone.
Correct.
The South Reward Community Council as well. Just so you know, before I turn it over to David to present tonight, you're most welcome to present tonight. I'm trying to be quick because I want to, I know everybody's time is so precious. I just want to let everyone know that this was just one session that we're doing. We plan to have another follow-up session in a few weeks, I think 3 weeks time, so we can keep, updating the team from the different community councils. So we should have a lot more on for next time around. Okay, so we'll kick it off. Thank you for your time. Damien, you may proceed.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you, Audrey. Audrey, before we move on, you'll need to give me allow me to share my screen. Sorry. So as Audrey mentioned, the idea is that on the 15th of April, we'll be able to come back with another session where we'll be able to give a bit more information again, just to add in some more context to the project. The idea is that we'll be using this platform, using these Zoom calls and info sessions to be able to share information with you, but also get information from you, get your input as well, and be able to exchange, have that exchange open up those communications lines for us to be able to have those exchange, so that we, at the end, when we're presenting a project, it wouldn't just be, this is what we made, go and enjoy it. It will be something collective that we all were able to create together. I know this is definitely important for the country, and by these means, these info sessions, we hope that we'll be able to get your input in here as well. So this evening, as Audrey mentioned, the idea is that we'll be presenting just a bit of information. We have some pictures in here of what the project is going to look like. Some of you may have seen some of these images before. That's okay. Allow us to be able to share this same opportunity with some others as well. And again, this wouldn't be the last time for sure. The idea is that we'll continue to be doing that. So with that said, I'm going to share my screen so you'll be able to see the presentation that we have here for you. And so let me know when you see my screen. Everything is okay?
Yes, it is. We can see the screen.
Perfect.
Everybody else is okay? All right.
I know the call, from what I understand, if the call happens to drop, just feel free to log back in with the same login details. We decided to use Zoom to make it a bit easier for everyone to be able to access the link, because we was having some trouble with the Teams the last time. So, but if the call happens to drop off, or if you happen to fall off, just feel free to log back in with the same link. Yeah. Okay, so this is the package 2 project update, and we are giving this session to the community councils. The objectives that we have this evening is for us to be able to update and engage with on the project progress, as I mentioned before. We also want to be able to provide context and background to maybe some of the ideas and words going around on the street. We know how that works, small communities, word spread by word of mouth, but we want to, again, be able to have these sessions to be able to really dialogue with some key persons in the community, of which you are some of. Again, that also ties in with being able to provide clarity around the project. We also want to be able to highlight some of the key improvements that we are working towards in terms of upgrading the project. We also want to let everyone know what's coming, what's going to be new, what's going to be different, etc. And ultimately, we really would appreciate, our goal is really to make ambassadors, create ambassadors to be able, for you to be able to go out and tell the story to your friends, to your colleagues, to your communities, whoever those may be as well. And so with that, we also want to invite you to share your input with us. Your input, again, is documented. We have my other team members on the call this evening to also be able to take the notes of the session this evening, and so that we'll be able to document those, consider how we'll be able to implement those into the plans moving forward. Just so that you know as well, we are trying to be as active as possible on social media. We also have our webpage. Audrey takes care of our social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram as well at times. And internally, we're trying to really build an internal community within the airport community online on a platform that we call Yammer. So that's something that we're trying to stimulate and build as well. But the idea is that we're really trying to communicate about the project as much as possible. So if there's any ways that you feel that we can be also communicating, feel free to let us know as well. Every suggestion really helps. We have the webpage, of course, that's a regular website, sxmairport.com. And then you go to the construction tab. If any information that you're looking for or that you know others are looking for pertaining to the project will all be covered under that tab. And that's specifically pertaining to the reconstruction. We also have what we call the GRM, that's the grievance redress mechanism. And so that is where we allow anyone to basically anyone that has a grievance be able to come in and go on the website, come in and address their grievances. Well, send us their grievances. It's a platform where they can submit their grievances, whether via phone, email, web form, etc. So there's multiple platforms. We even have a Dropbox here at the airport. So anyone that has a complaint about the project, pertaining to the project specifically, not just the regular airport operations, they'll be able to document those grievances there. And of course, we'll be able to handle those grievances accordingly. Again, I just want to mention that we do plan to have another session that's April 15th at 7 p.m., same time, same place, virtually. And the idea is that we'll be looking at what we call package 1 and 1A, which is the setup that we're using now, and what we are calling the package 2 pre-works. That's the works that, if you guys were paying attention, the works that the contractors were doing here at the airport. Next time when we come, we'll be able to get into those. We'll also be taking the time out to go more in depth on the World Bank requirements and procedures. I'm not sure if you guys know, but this is considered a World Bank project. So that means we have to follow the requirements and procedures of the World Bank. And also one of the things we can touch on the next time is the bidding process. So the process of how we select a contractor. I won't be able to go too much in depth on that this evening, but I do want to mention, take the time out to mention that 2 days ago, March 23rd, we were able to close that bidding process. So all the contractors who were looking to bid, that's the article that you saw in the newspapers recently. I think that was yesterday.
Hello, excuse me, 1 second, Damien. Some of the other participants are trying to get on, but I made you the host. Can you assist? I cannot get through to get them. They're waiting in the lobby.
I just saw one there, so I admitted her, I guess. Yeah, so I think that person should be in now. Yeah, so those are some of the topics that we want to be able to get into. Hopefully we'll be able to package all of that into a second session. If not, we're open to even a third session. So again, the idea is that we keep these info sessions as frequently as possible. Of course, we also want to be able to come to you with relevant information as well. But just to let you know that this will definitely not be the last time that you're hearing from us. So this evening, again, we'll just do the recap, and then we'll jump over to the package 2 project. Again, these 2 topics we'll be able to jump into next time. Yeah. So in terms of a recap, some of you I just want to take us down memory lane a little bit and really show some of the pictures of what the airport looked like before Hurricane Irma in September 2017. So these are some of the pictures of the building. Here you see the check-in hall, of course. On the top right, you see the area where what we call the meet and greet area. So where your friends and family or you yourself would come out from when you arrive at the airport. Down in the bottom is where, on the right, is where you'll see the area of the baggage reclaim area where you take up your bags off of the belt. In the bottom right, again, you see an area of the food court, what we call the food court area on the check-in side. Yeah. So just to kind of give you an impression of where we were at the time before this image became our reality. We're going to jump through some of these images. Of course, in September 2017, Hurricane Irma happened and devastated our beloved airport. Soon after that, I think that was in October, we were able to reopen the airport using large tents and what we consider the makeshift airports at the time. Again, using large tents to be able to carry out the facility. Of course, some of that was also done in our makeup area. I really always need to commend the team here at the airport who were able to put this together, because it was really a creative process on trying to figure out how we can manage thousands of people through no airport, so to speak. So always have to commend the team for that. Then after a few months, we moved over to what we call the pavilion tents. These were larger structures. They were able to house even more persons. Of course, after a few months, more persons started to travel, more flights started to come back. So the little tents that we had were not sufficient. So we had to invest in large pavilion tents that were able to then process the thousands of people that we needed to process. Just to kind of give you an impression, if I'm not mistaken, the numbers at the time that we were looking at was somewhere around 6,000, 3 to 6,000, I think, on a Saturday being one of our busiest days. So of course, you could imagine there's only so much we could have handled with the large tents. Yeah. So that kind of gives us a brief recap of where we were and what we had to go through for us to be able to get here, basically. So now we look at the package, what we call the package 2 pre-works. So the pre-works are basically the works that need to get done before we can actually start the reconstruction. The pre-works consists of 2 major projects. First of all, the sprinkler repair system. After the hurricane devastated the airport, we weren't able to use the airport. We activated only the parts of the sprinkler system that we needed for us to be able to operate now, what we're calling package 1. Again, package 1 we'll explain in further detail during a follow-up session. And then the second major project that falls under the pre-works is the mold remediation and waste disposal. And so the mold remediation and waste disposal is basically where, and we'll get into that later, but the idea is, at least this chart shows that the guys are on track to completing. Lovani, just so that you know, level 2 and level 0 were completed. So actually I need to update this chart. We just got word that all levels have been completed today. And so within a few days, the contractor will be wrapping up and heading home, actually. That's great news, because now that the building is clear and all areas have been mold remediated, we'll now be able to we now can guarantee that we have a clean building again. And so that building will be able to hand over to the main contractor when they come online. Yeah. And so some may ask, what's the reason why we had to do this big expensive mold remediation project? And so one of the main reasons, the main reason why is because because of all what happened with the airport, the water stagnated, water got into the building, stagnated, it couldn't get rid of it, mold started to grow, of course. And so these mold spores were very, very dangerous, of course, and we were not allowed to put persons back into the building without really cleaning it properly. The issue here is that it's not the kind of mold that you can clean with typical household products. We really needed to get a specific certified contractor who's certified in mold remediation to be able to do this work. The waste disposal part basically focuses on what we would call, or what you can call, the gutting of the building. On the bottom left, you see some of the guys demolishing some of the areas, demolishing some of the areas that will be replaced when we're doing the build back. And then on the second picture, you're seeing the company Farmer EG, and Farmer EG stands for Environmental Group, and they are an environmental consultant that confirms that the mold has been removed and there's basically no more mold in the building. or at least not to a level that is harmful. Yeah, AAR is the name of the company who did the who won the bid to do the mold remediation and waste disposal project. Yeah. So now that we have a clean building again, now that we'll be able to be able to reconstruct without any major issues in terms of health and whatnot. The good thing here, we have to always pause as well. The good thing here is that we can confirm that there's been a lot of knowledge transfer. The contractor AR, they use a lot of local guys. I think it was up to 80 local guys that they trained, some of them from your communities that they trained to be able to handle mold. They trained on how to be able to use the equipment that they needed to use. So a lot of that knowledge was transferred here locally. So that's also something that we are very proud about as well. On any given day, you could have come here and find at least 45 guys working. And just for your understanding, they were working in shifts. So I think it's they would work 3 days on, 2 days off, etc. So that was also a very great initiative from them as well. And that's something that we baked into the project to stimulate the contractor to use local workers as much as possible. Just to kind of give you an image, an idea of what this mold looked like and why we couldn't just use some bleach and Tilex to wipe down the place. This was the kind of mold, some of the kind of molds that we found. We also have lots more images, of course, but of course, this is not the type of not the type of mold that you would want to just have anybody come in and clean. Yeah. So now that that project is finished, the idea is that we'll now be really focusing and moving forward on. Oops, presentation not working with me here. Let me go back. I know what happened already. Because we hit some of the slides that we couldn't get into is why we're having this issue, but I'll just jump around to them. That's not a problem. There we go. So now we want to look at the reconstruction project and the timeline. Of course, we get the question, why are things taking so long? And it's not an easy answer. There's, just so you understand, there's a lot, especially there's a lot of documentation that needs to happen before the project can actually start, before somebody can start to pong a nail. There's a lot of documentation that needs to happen, especially because this is a World Bank project. And so, as I mentioned, we started this mold remediation project in November 2020, and that project will end again pretty much on schedule, which would be April 2021. In the meantime, we published what we call the SPN. That's basically the special procurement notice and the invitation to bid over in October. And that basically means the bidding documents for the main contractor. So for this main reconstruction project, there's a bidding document that needs to go out, of course. And so that document we publish in October. And so the idea is that initially, we'll get more into details in that, but we publish that in October. And then the idea is now between October and July, we'll be able to send out the bid, get back the bid, evaluate, and then choose a contractor so that they can start to at least mobilize in July. That's the plans. And then we'll be able to complete the project by March 2023. Just to kind of take a closer look as to what has been happening since October. Of course, before October, as I mentioned, there's a lot of documentation. Maarten could tell you all about that was happening. But since November, October, November, since we released the bidding documents, we received a total of almost 300 or over 300 questions pertaining to the bid. This basically means that companies, major construction companies, international construction companies who were interested in bidding the document and coming here to bid, who were interested in bidding on the project, they were submitting questions back to us based on the bid that we sent out. And those questions came up to about 300, if not more. And so, of course, each one of those questions took time and attention to be able to handle. You note these are the numbers here: 125 in November, 70, another 72 questions in December, another 52, 51, etc. So that, of course, took a lot of time, and those are the things that we were really focusing on since, well, for the latter part of the year and the first part of this year. The idea is between now that the bid is closed, again, now that we have received the bidding documents or the proposals from those international construction companies, we will be spending the upcoming weeks and months focusing on the evaluation of those bids, making sure that we choose the best companies, the best company to be able to come in and provide us with their services in terms of really reconstructing the airport. And again, I think I mentioned that before, the idea is that by July, we'll be able to complete that bidding evaluation. And of course, that takes time because there's 100-page documents for each one. And of course, it's a team, so that needs to take some time for them to go through, engage in conversations with the preferred bidders, etc. So that will definitely take some time. I also need to, yeah, I'll leave that there. Just to kind of give a bit of an overview of what the reconstruction really means. For us, the reconstruction of the terminal comes with a couple of packages, or can be split up in a couple of packages. So you're looking at first the actual P2, package 2. Reconstruction of the terminal building would mean reconstructing all the stores, the offices, etc. But that also includes the escalators. We're putting in, I think it's 2 or 3 new escalators. We're putting in some extra elevators. We're updating the flooring, etc. to terrazzo flooring. I just see someone else joining, so I've added her as well. Then we also have what we call 7 equipment packages. And so you see the list of equipment packages here. The main ones that we're focused on right now, and that's taking up a lot of our time and attention, are the first 2 / the first 4. And the first one, of course, is the passenger boarding bridges. If you guys paid attention or came close to the airport recently, you'll notice that some of our boarding bridges are gone. I think we only have 1 or 2 left. And so the idea is that those boarding bridges will be replaced as well. Sorry. We also have the baggage handling system. We'll get into that later. But these are the 2 main projects that really take a lot of time to procure. Basically, between actually ordering the project and delivering and installing the project could take a good year and change, if not more. So that's while we're actually busy working on this main reconstruction project, these are other smaller projects that we're also working on at the same time. So we definitely have our hands full here at the project team office. So based on that, we want to also highlight some of the main upgrades and improvements that we have. And we have a bunch of different stakeholder groups, and we try to split up the improvements based on the stakeholder groups. These are definitely not all, but we try to highlight them as much as possible. So for the passengers, if you consider yourself a passenger, we hope that you'll enjoy our new escalators to all our jet bridges. So before, when you came off one of the jet bridges, imagine you came off of American Airlines or Delta. I'm a Delta fan myself. You came off of the Delta, depending on where you came, which gate you came in at, you had to walk down some stairs. Now, all of us are getting older. All of us would have eventually have issues with our knees, if not, and some of us have children that have to, are not always the lightest, and stuff in your hands and stuff like that. So walking down the stairs was not always the easiest. So now we're including escalators at those jet bridges as well, so that all the jet bridges, it'll make it easier for you to move around the airport. There'll also be more check-in kiosks. That's something that we hope you'll enjoy. And what we call the self-service bag drops. So what we notice in the airline industry, airport industry, is that we see another person joining. I think the Zoom user is joining back actually. So what we notice in the airline community is that there's lots of persons checking in online via your phone, via your tablet, via your computer the night before, the day before, the morning of, and then just want to come to the airport to drop off their bags. This is something that you can do in some of the bigger airports, especially in the US or in the Netherlands. And so pretty soon we'll be able to do that here as well. So you'll be able to do that from before at the via your phone or via your tablet, via your computer, or you can be able to do that via our check-in kiosk that we'll have at the airport. And then when you come to the airport now, you just need to drop off your bag at the self-service baggage drops. We'll also have some larger flight information displays. So those are the big flight displays that have all the information pertaining to the flight, which flight is on time, etc. And we'll also have a new baggage service office. This is the office. I don't know if that ever happened to you, but that happens to some of us sometimes, where you traveled and for some reason your bag didn't come with you. And so the agents would tell you, yeah, go home and then we'll call you tomorrow, or pass back later in the afternoon and we'll see if you have your bag. When you come back in the afternoon, you didn't know where to go. So now we have a dedicated location where the agents will be able to meet you, greet you with you, and be able to assist you with your bags. Yeah, those are just some of the major highlights in terms of some of the improvements and changes. We also have some great improvements and updates for our concessionaires as well. Those are people that have the stores at the airport. We'll be adding more. I see Wendy Jackson added her as well, someone joining the call. We have more additional concessions. That's both on the land side and air side, so before security and after security. We'll be adding, what we have added already is the stronger roof. So now the roof is able to withstand 185 mile per hour hurricane. I hope we don't ever have to test that again. Of course, the entry doors will be enhanced as well. During the hurricane, or after the hurricane, we realized that that was one of the weaker points in the building, so we're reinforcing those. As I mentioned before, there's new terrazzo floors. If you're not sure what terrazzo floor is, it's something like an epoxy. The good thing is it's a bit more durable than tile, and because it's basically it's like how I try to explain it in simple terms is it's kind of like a liquid that gets hard and it looks nice and shiny afterwards. So the good thing is with that, if we need to do any work throughout the building, dig up the floors, lay some electrical cables, etc., which we would need to do from time to time, we wouldn't really need to go and hunt down tiles and store tiles, etc. So that makes it a bit easier for us as well. And in general, we'll be making better use of the floor space throughout the terminal. We also have some major upgrades for the airlines as well. They have some redesigned check-in counters, which was a major point for them. And the car rentals, what might be interesting for you is that the car rentals, if you have friends or family who rent car when they reach to the airport, the car rentals will also be getting an improved location. I'll show you some pictures in just a few. So those are some of the improvement that we were able to pick out of the project. Of course, there's more, some environmental stuff and whatnot. And so I hopefully, again, in another session, we'll be able to go into more details on those. But those are just some of the highlights on the improvements and upgrades that we're doing to the building. And so right now, I want to go through some pictures of what we had before and what we'll be able to get in a few, I want to say in a few months, in a few long months. Let me just make a quick note before I forget. So this is a picture of the old check-in hall after the hurricane. I hope these pictures don't make you too emotional. But this is what some of the pictures look like before the hurricane. So this is in the check-in hall where you would go to check in for your Winair flight, your American flights, etc. And after the project is finished, this is what we hope it would look like. What you're seeing here is, of course, the check-in counters in front of you with a renewed design. And so if you're not seeing it here, but these counters are able to actually swing out like doors and then close back behind the agent. So the agent doesn't, before we had a system where the agents actually used to have to step up on the baggage belt that's here to be able to get behind the counter. And so with the new setup, they'll be able to just open it like a door, walk in, and then close it behind them, and then start to do their work. You're seeing here some of the signage as well. Some of the signage beacons. Up top, you're seeing the large flight information display. So that this is the flight screens that will be letting you know which flights are coming in and leaving. This is what we call the departure hall east. Not sure if you guys would remember, this was the relay store. Over here was the ESCA, and here was the shipwreck store. And this is where you used to enter after you finish passing security. Where you're standing here in this area is where you're closer to the area where Winair used to leave and take their passengers, what we call the sea gates. Just I hope everyone is able to recollect. I know it's been a while, but I hope you're able to recollect. And so in that same area, this is what we expect it to look like. Yeah, you have your concessions on both sides. This is the same area by security. We have some office spaces upstairs. Again, big flight information displays to let you know where you're heading to. This is entering into the departure hall from after you pass security. Those of you that remember the Blanc Dunil store. And if I'm not mistaken, this was the Colombian Emeralds. Right, Audrey? I hope I have it right.
Definitely, you're correct. Yes, you are correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And then this, where you see the tile here, this is the walk-through store, which was Princess Promenade. So this is what we expect that area to look like when we're finished. Yeah. In the interest of time, I'll try to zip through some of these pictures. This is the departure food court, at least what it used to look like. So in the image where we're showing the guys demolishing, this is the actual structure that they were demolishing. This was the bar, the Tallulah Flights bar. And over here is where we had Domino's, Fleming's Cafe, Johnny Burger, and I feel like I'm missing somebody else actually. These were the bathrooms over here. And so in the new concept, this is what we're looking at. And the theme that we're going, these are the bathrooms. The concessions are still in the same spot, roughly. The idea is that we'll have a nice bar in this area with an area for families, a play area for families to be able to sit comfortably and allow the kids to play while you wait on your flight. The idea that we're going for here is I wonder if I should make people guess actually. I'm curious to know if people would guess it. Can you guys guess what the concept is with the food court area? Irma, I see you smiling. What does it look like to you? If anything at all. Maybe it doesn't look like anything, then we have to do a better job.
It looks like no food.
But you have to imagine the food at this point. Anyone else?
I can't tell. That you can enjoy the view?
Sorry?
The view? No, it's something with that top, that top right there. The top? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, something with to do with that. I don't know. The food will be coming down from on top.
I think we need to do a better job. We need to do a better job at the design. So the idea and concept that we're going for is a mega yacht concept. So really give passengers the experience of being served on and experiencing a mega yacht just before they take the flight. Of course, mega yachts is something that Sint Maarten is well known for, having all these mega yachts around. So we try to implant that concept into the design as well. So you guys see it?
Yeah, I'm seeing it now.
Are you seeing it now?
Yes,
okay.
I'm seeing it. Yes.
Okay. At least we're not too far off then. So this is the area in the departure hall as well, over by the A1. This was all the way down. Sometimes I think KLM used to leave from here often, KLM Air France. This was the business class lounge, I think here. Yeah. And then these were the stairs to go downstairs to the B gates. The B gates is the area where you used to go to take
business class lounge.
Yeah. And the B gates is where you used to go to take primarily the flights to Curacao, etc. The Insulair, stuff like that. So that's this area. If you remember correctly, it was kind of sterile with just chairs. And I think we had a little coffee area over behind this elevator shaft. So after the build back, this is kind of what we're looking at. So we'll have some concessions in this area. What I don't think you'll be able to see in this version is our new business class lounge, for those of you that travel business class, or that use the business class lounge, will be outfitted with a host of new features, updated features. One of the features I'm most proud about is it will have showers. So those persons who need to take a shower before they leave, be able to do that now at our airport. I think that makes us very innovative. But aside from that, it would actually be 2 floors instead of 1. So you'll be able to come upstairs, enter somewhere in this area, if I'm not mistaken, and actually go upstairs. And upstairs we'll have even more amenities for persons to enjoy. We'll also have a balcony where you can go up to the business class lounge, go in the business class lounge, go upstairs on the 2nd floor and come out and be able to have a nice view of the entire departure hall. So we think that those things would definitely help to set the business class lounge apart. So you'll be able to go inside or come out on the balcony. Yeah. And then one of the last areas that probably will get...
There's a quick question, Damien, asking, will we have a spa?
That's a very good question.
Yeah, we could get a little, massage. You know how a long travel could be? Sometimes it got delay. You just get a massage in before that.
Let's just say, I'm glad that you brought up the question. So we'll be able to take this back to our commercial team and let them know there's interest in having a spa at the airport.
Hey, just say, if y'all going shower, you might as well.
This is why we have these info sessions. So you'll be able to let us know, and then we'll be able to go back and be like, hey, we need a spa.
What about the chairs, the massage chairs?
So
Yes.
just to recap, so you guys understand the frame of where we're coming from as well. Our responsibility as a project team is really just to rebuild the airport and hand it back to the operations team. So the operation team in this case would then be the commercial department, who's responsible for all these new ideas, which are not bad ideas, of course, which are definitely interesting stuff. And the actual operations department. I see Mr. Irion is logging in as well. Mr. Irion is in the call as well. So good evening, Mr. I'm not sure if you're on behalf of FinMin or on behalf of the Community Council. Or a bit of both. But welcome to the call still. So as I was mentioning, the idea is that, oh, and he's off again. The idea is that we'll be able to, our job as the project team is really to be able to reconstruct the airport and hand it back to these guys who are responsible for the day-to-day operations of the airport. But again, because of this platform, because of this info session platform, we have that conversation with you, and we'll be able to take these back now to the operations team and say, the operating team, then let me say it like that, and say, hey, you know, this is something that people have been asking for. How can we take a look at it? So I noted down the spa, and I noted down the massage chairs. Yeah. So as I was mentioning, this is the meet and greet area. I showed it in the beginning as well. If you remember correctly, these are the car rental booths. This is the bathroom. This is where you used to come out and meet your friends and family. This is also the area that is now being used and operated. And this will be the area that I find is actually going to be the most renovated and well, the most changed the most actually, because when we're finished, this is what we actually plan to have that space look like. As I mentioned earlier, the idea is that the car rentals will actually now be situated in this space where they'll be you'll be able to exit your flight. So imagine you're exiting your flight here. Those who are taking car rentals, they can stop here to get their car, and then you who are coming home and meeting your friends and family, you just continue out and be able to greet your family here. There's also the food court in the back here, where you'll be able to go and enjoy your food and beverage before you leave the airport. This is one of the biggest changes that structurally, I think that you'll see in terms of moving through the airport. Yeah. And before we close, I want to display this video, and I hope it works well here. If not, then we'll have to pull it up on my pull up the actual file. So this video basically shows a rendering of everything from the beginning to the end. And I'll try to talk over the video so that you'll be able to get a good impression of where we're at. So this was you're entering into the check-in area, as I showed before. This gives you a good view of the entire check-in hall. Large flight information displays, signage. These are the check-in kiosks that I mentioned. The doors, as you see, are redone. In the back here, you see, down in the back, you'll see the baggage drop, self-service bag drop. So now we're walking towards the area where you go upstairs to take your flight. You see, these are the ticket booths, the renovated ticket booths. You see the check-in counters, and this is how the check-in counters would look when they're pulled open. And again, the agents could just walk in and sit. And now we're walking towards the food court area, what we call the landside food court area. All these black spaces that you see here will be spaces for our concessionaires, those who are selling food and beverage, etc. So this is where the Burger King was, the cafe was, the Subway, etc. Those will all come back pretty much in the same spaces. Well, those spaces will be made available again for concessionaires again. We also have some concessionaires on the left-hand side. So now we're going upstairs to take your flight. So where you go upstairs to pass security. What we're doing now is actually going through security first and then immigration. We'll also be using automated immigration booths as well. This is where you enter into the duty-free area, the departure area, our mega yacht concept. Where there's some concessions here again, the bar down in the back, overlooking the flight, the airfield. The facades, I think you call it, of the bathrooms will also be redone. And these will be another two here, some other spaces for concessions. We'll have concessions going all along here. The elevator shaft will also be redone to be glass, which lets in a lot more light. This is, of course, the entrance to the executive lounge. And over in the corner there, you're seeing the balcony of the executive lounge. Yeah, so as I mentioned, you'll be able to go inside, go upstairs, and come over on the balcony and enjoy the view from there. We'll also be adding an extra bar area in this area. Again, because it was so sterile at the time, we decided to add an extra bar space here. At least that's the plan. And we'll be having space here as well for our agents to be able to handle any passengers that needs assistance. This is the bar I was mentioning. I think we're referring to this as the A1 bar. So on arrival, when you come on your flight, you come off the jet bridge, you enter into this space. And as I mentioned, you're going down escalators now and no longer stairs. You're walking into what we call the sun, sand, and sea corridor, where you're overlooking the colored glass panels, looking at the persons taking their bags. This is the other escalator, one of the other escalators that we're adding in. You're going to walk up further until you get to the immigration point. We're introducing the, I'm not sure, the name is the, what, I think it's EBC gates. I'm not sure of the name right now, but the idea is we'll be using an automated system.
Automatic border control, ABC.
Okay, yes.
Say that again, Mato?
Yes, ABC.
ABC, there we go.
ABC as in automated border control kiosk. Automated
border control, thank you very much. So that's, this system will basically, just like how you go to the US and you have to go to the ESTA machines to be able to gain entrance, it will be a similar system here. If you've been to Aruba or Curacao recently in the past 3 years, it's a similar system. You pass the immigration officers for those that need to do extra check. You go down the stairs. and you enter to the area where you have to reclaim your bags. After reclaiming your bags, you're gonna head out into the departure area, the meet and greet area. I think this is the area also where we'll be introducing now bringing back the concession space. I think we have I'm not sure if it's this space based on the renderings, but we'll also have a concession space again in the arrival area or baggage reclaim area. So you're passing customs and now you're heading out into the car rental space first. So you can stop here, get your cars, well, those that need to stop to get a car rental. And just so you understand, one of the main reasons why we included this is because one of the car rentals are one of our major stakeholders, of course, at the airport, and they do a lot of business at the airport. They're paying rent for the space at the airport, but their complaint was that they weren't getting a lot of acknowledgement when they're at the airport. So when a passenger comes, they weren't really seeing the car rentals properly, or the car rentals they didn't feel like they were getting a premium experience. So and then the other issue was that people who didn't have agreements with the airport were able to come up to the door and propose this car rental services, which is of course not something that we tolerated, but of course things used to happen. So the idea is we really kind of created this space, this tunnel area basically, where persons would be able to, if you have a car and want to take one of our preferred car rentals, you'll be able to use this space first or reach this space first before you exit. And so after you leave that space, as I mentioned, you can go over to the food court area, or you meet your friends and family and go through the doors. There'll also be space here again for another concession area. And you see some of the bathroom designs here as well. And that was basically a quick journey and trip throughout the terminal. Of course, these are still renderings and still what we hope the situation would look like. Let's skip through this. So again, we really would want to hear some of your input. We really would appreciate if you can share your input with us, any suggestions, ideas, as we already mentioned, the spa and the massage chairs that persons will be interested in seeing. But if there's anything else, any ideas, any questions or concerns, please feel free to share them with us. We'll take a few questions in a moment, but we just want to let you know that, you know, if there's anything that you think you can contribute or just want to ask, because asking a question might help to trigger us to think of another solution, but feel free to reach out to us and get those questions answered and those ideas shared. Yeah. So any questions from the floor at this point?
Good evening, Damien, Audrey. There's one question already came in on the chat from Brigitte from the Simpson Bay Community Councils. She was stating concerns with the congested area right there by the car rental space, that when there's too many flights. Have we looked into that is the question.
Yeah, so that's something that we discussed as well, and something that came up. A couple of things, actually. One, what we've seen over the years with the car rentals is that, first of all, there's not much work being done in terms of, there's not much paperwork being done at the counter with the car rentals. We noticed that lots of the car rental, a few of the car rentals actually have even a hotline phone where passengers would just go to the designated booth. Let's say they come into Hertz, for example. They would go to Hertz. They would pick up the phone. Hertz would tell them, "Okay, I'll meet you outside in 5 minutes," for example. So there's, and even if there were somebody in the booth, there's most of the paperwork has already been done. So really why they would use the boot is really just to kind of connect with the person and then take them outside to the designated shuttle to carry them off premises to get the car. So actually at the counter, we don't really see, or we haven't really been seeing much work, much processing time. That's one. And number two, we had at the time, well, before the hurricane, we had about 14 car rental companies, and we'll be reducing those number of companies down to, I think, 8 or 9, actually, which would also help to cut down the amount of congestion in that space. So thank you for the question, of course, but it is something that we discuss, and at this point, we don't foresee it being a problem. However, if it ever really becomes a problem, the glass, let me jump back to the picture so you can see what I'm talking about. Here, this glass will be able to move it forward or rearrange the panels so that the flow becomes a bit more easy to use. Yeah. But thank you very much for that question, Bridget. Anyone else with a question, concern, comment, commendations even?
Yes, I have two. The first one is are there going to be payphones well enough, especially in the arrival area?
And just for my understanding, what do you mean when you say payphones?
Yeah, the booths are where people can go and put their coins and make calls.
That would basically fall under the commercial operational team. So that's not a question we can answer yes or no to here, but it is something that we can address with the commercial team, indeed. What I can say though is we had one at the airport, we had one at arrival and we had one on departure, and the usage was minimal. So we'll have to see at that time, we'll have to see how that works out. But it is, we'll still make note of that, of course.
We also had some
And
at
the
the
other
glass
one?
elevator.
Meta, you were saying something?
Yeah, we also had payphones at the glass elevator before you use the escalator to the departure hall. And as Damien indicated, of those 3 payphones that we had, I think they were used probably once every 6 months or something like that.
Yeah.
Was there service though?
Yeah, they were. Telem had them in service, and they actually complained that they were maintaining something that was not being used.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just for my understanding, yeah, go ahead with the second question.
The other thing, with the rebuilding, is the airport going to be expanded? Because I see a lot of new that are going to be added, facilities and so. Is it also expansion?
When you say expansion in terms of the square meterage?
Size, yes.
So the short answer is no. The main goal of our project is to really reconstruct the airport to what it was, use within the same the same walls. What we will be doing, as I mentioned before, is making better use of the floor space. So, for example, the car rental area, the food court area, where we had some dead corners, those are some dead spaces. Those are some of the things that we're trying to work around. But what our project really stays within the walls. The only thing that really comes outside of the walls of the existing airport is the jet bridges. And I mean, we could technically debate if that's inside or outside. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just wondering about the payphones though. What I'm assuming you asked a question because you're one of those persons that would use the payphones?
Lots of time if you're out on vacation, you come back, sometimes you don't have service. And I'm thinking also on people from other countries that come in and they don't have service on St. Maarten on their phone. And if they want to call someone to pick them up and so. Because I use it a lot when I go to the US. So that's why I'm asking.
What we have realized is a lot of folks have WhatsApp on their phones. And with the free Wi-Fi that the airport is providing for 15 minutes, persons would be able to log on to the Wi-Fi and be able to make that call for someone to come and get them.
Yes, indeed. And just to add to that, not sure if you got a chance to travel recently, but I think that was just before the pandemic. That was early last year, 2020. Actually, December 2019, we launched our Wi-Fi service. So now we have Wi-Fi service throughout the building. You get a free, I think it's a half an hour free, and then you would have to, if you need more, then you can see one of the concessionaires to purchase some more data. So there will be other ways around. If you're looking for service, there will be other ways around.
One of the other options that we have is we have the customer information desk that a lot of the customers would normally go to for them to be able to provide some kind of access to a telephone, as well as the tourist office is also used for that.
Yeah. Yeah, but good question though. Thank you. Anybody else had a question, comment, or idea that they wanted to shoot around?
I did have a question pertaining to first of all, is a job well done to reach out to the community councils. I know sometimes you may see the outcome, the numbers don't be so strong, but it's not so much about the numbers, but about people. And so these type of things, after a while, I believe they will catch on. So I think it's a very good initiative to do that. So thank you guys for reaching out to us, because it's like, okay, the airport so far, what they want without reward, but reaching out and providing that information, because we are all, basically citizens and entitled to the information. So basically my first question was that, is this, because you mentioned it's a World Bank project, does that mean that this was a requirement of that and that is specific to this project, or that moving forward, the airport is taking the approach to inform the citizens of future projects and endeavors and allowing them to have input?
A good question, thank you very much. In short, it's a mix of both. So it's important from the World Bank perspective, you have to engage with your stakeholders, but it's our initiative to decide how we're going to do that. And so this is one of those methods how we thought it was important to include everybody. And again, as you mentioned, really try to help to get the word out.
Yes, and if I may, thank you for that comment as well, Aishira. The stakeholders engagement plan, the SEP, as I think Damien mentioned prior, is one of the requirements that was one of the documents that we had to prepare on behalf of the airport for the World Bank. And so that was done earlier on, and the public outreach campaign came out of that as well. So definitely agree with Damien, and thank you for your comments. It is a way to reach out to the public. It is a requirement, but the public outreach campaign came from the airport itself. So thank you very much for saying that.
Good evening.
Good evening, Minister.
Good evening, Minister Irian. Don't kill us.
No. Good evening. Thank you again for the presentation. I'd like to agree with the message from Aishira, that I think that this campaign, even though I believe it should have started already and before all of the heated discussions and political discussions and so forth, I do appreciate it happening. But I also want to correct you on what you said just now, that this is a World Bank initiative. This is a government initiative. The World Bank didn't borrow the money, the government borrowed the money. So I just want to correct you on that. And I also requested that all presentations from the airport going forward also says that. I already mentioned that once to the management team.
Okay, I'm gonna let me to answer on that one.
We will take note of that, Mr. Minister Arian, to ensure that we have that information go forward in all the presentations. We do
Thank you.
expect that
Go ahead,
it is a World Bank managed project, but the funds is coming from the airport. We do have a presentation that speaks to that as well.
Yes.
Yeah, that's outlined in one of the
I-
other slides actually, but that slide we skipped this evening.
Exactly. Minister, this is Audrey as well, Corporate Communications Specialist at the airport. We started the public outreach campaign since October of 2019. So this is the first time we've been including the district community councils and so forth. So you have different community councils on board, but we already started with the Beacon Hill Community Council as well as the Simpson Bay Community Council from its inception because they're closer in proximity to the airport. But this is something we've been doing since October of 2019.
Okay, perfect. With the renderings?
No, we only released the renderings, I think it was this year.
No, actually, we have two of them on board right now. We have Dustin, we also have someone person, Brigitte, they can speak to that.
All right, I can chime in slightly on that. So the prior presentation had renderings. It also had the overall plan. It was before you're starting the cleanup. So we were alerted as the immediate neighbor, Beacon Hill, that your mediation of mold and the cleanup would be going underway with the dumpsters and things like that. And we appreciate that communication as being the airport, our largest neighbor. And also, we also do appreciate to know that the funding comes from the World Bank. While the St. Martin government may have arranged this and is surely undersigning it for it, the funding coming from the World Bank does mean a lot to the people of our neighborhood anyhow, to know that kind of an organization is standing behind this project as well.
And one of the things that we can also let you guys know is that we did have a supervision mission with the World Bank last week, and they still are very satisfied with the way we are handling the project.
Right. Also, Audrey, if there's a copy of this presentation, I'd like to share it, if at all possible. I see you're recording it, so it's possible you can post a link to the people here. We can share that with people. Like my Rotary Club, for example, just got the invitation late, so I'd like to get it to them so the folks from the Rotary and our neighbors in Beacon Hill can absorb what was presented here, because it was a nice presentation. Damien, thank you so much for that as well. I appreciate you going through the time with us.
No problem.
Thank you, Dustin. We will touch base. Thank you. Thank you, Minister, as well.
I did have one more, I guess, comment to make.
Yeah, go ahead, Ashura.
I'm not sure if it's relevant for your project specifically that you're doing, but I saw that you mentioned that there were going to be more concessions available for visitors, and passengers. And one of the things as a citizen, I really like to see is that, the authentic St. Martin flavor that we definitely don't miss that. And that oftentimes you kind of get a feeling, and maybe it's a feeling, so maybe it's not factual, that you miss that because it seems like the big players get in as concessions, and there should be more engagement with the districts, thinking about district tourism, or people who can come in and do, you should have a space that you can have that. You don't always, that St. Martin authentic feeling don't always come through when you see the concessions and some of the souvenirs that you see there actually. So I hope that it could be a little more creative, that the people that are allowed to be there, is not like I could go on the market in town and get the same things I could get in the airport, for example. I hope that there is also consideration for those type of things and more, community engagement to have that authenticity. So maybe that's not for this project, but since you're also taking things for other organizations within the airport, that is something that I hope that can be taken with you guys. Thank you so much.
That's definitely a very good point, Ashira. and I appreciate that very much. I want to answer it on a personal level, but in any case, I'll just keep it that I agree with you, and we'll take that point as well.
Awesome.
If I may be so bold to say, I think we really have to, unfortunately, a lot of times, and not making an excuse, but unfortunately, a lot of times, and just for context, I was working as the business development officer as well. So persons who would come who were interested in doing business at the airport, I would be the one that they would really have to speak to. This was before I joined the project team here. Now, one of the major issues that I saw is that, unfortunately, the same groups that you're talking about, for some reason, they're not able to put on paper the things that we're looking for. So, because of that, and it's not their fault, it's not our fault, but those are some of the things. Maybe in a community platform we'll be able to help, and I'm not sure who'll be the one responsible to help, but unfortunately, those are the things that we're grading on, and those are the things that they're not strong in. So again, it's not really a PMU conversation, but I just felt like I wanted to be able to share that as well, because that's definitely something that that needs to happen. And exactly like you say, you really want to be able to show that authentic St. Maarten experience as well. Totally agree with that.
Damien, has the biddings for the concessions already gone out, or all the former concessionaires get first dibs? Because the question for Aishita just now, is there actually still opportunity then for new concessionaires?
So the bidding, as far as I know, the bidding has not gone out for the new spaces, but there will be additional spaces becoming available. So while that is a commercial division conversation, and that division is headed by Robert Brown, if you guys are familiar with him, that we won't be able to have much influence on that part, but what we can say is that there will be more commercial spaces available.
Oh, well, that's good to know. And perhaps maybe if that aspect is a little more transparent to the wider public, they will be able to, prepare and get the assistance they need to be able to bring the project proposal or whatever, the bids up to your standard, the standard that is required. So it would be nice if those things are transparent, because you just don't know, kind of like a who. With I would not know when there's a concession available, and
no, totally,
nobody else either.
And so one of the things that again, not trying to use the platform for commercial purposes, but one of the things that we have on the website now is interest form, expression of interest form. So you can go to the website, you or whoever else that's interested in open up something at the airport, you can go to the website. I think it's under the business tab, and you look for expression of interest. You go there, and there's a link to a form that you can fill out to let us know that you're interested in opening up something at the airport. And what I was the one that made a form. And so what I did there was also have some questions that help to trigger you or whoever that's interested in doing business at the airport, that they'll be able to use those questions to trigger and ask themselves, if this is really something that I want to do, but also help them know what kind of questions we'll be asking and what kind of things that we'll be looking for.
Shira, I'm thanking you for those questions, because now I see what Damien is busy with instead of working for PMU.
This was before August, don't worry. No, but so those are the commercial stuff. Is there any other questions? Are there any other questions pertaining to the project and the reconstruction, or comments, compliments, etc.? Maybe we can do a quick round table.
Round table, yes. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Audrey.
Thank you.
Let's start off with Irma. You're to the top of my list. I just working my way down. Not hearing you too good, Irma.
Is it better now?
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Okay, this is it's really a great initiative to get the community councils involved, and also I would add, if we can get maybe a recording of it, we would be able to share it with more of the people in the council.
Thank you very much.
In the collective. We are the Salty World Community Collective, so we'll be able to share with more folks.
Definitely, definitely.
Can I make a suggestion? Because like Damien indicated, this is not going to be the last of these sessions. We were wondering the possibility when we do share that Zoom link that we invite you guys them to get an update. Is it possible for you to share them among the community as well? Because then we can have more people engaged in the conversation than just a small focal group that we have right now.
Yes, Mirto, Audrey again, that is definitely the intention. So what we've been doing is I've been including the boards of these different community councils of the different districts, and they, by extension, so Dustin will inform the entire Beacon Hill group, Brigitte will inform the entire Simpson Bay group, and Eve and Irma will do the same for South Reward and so forth. So there was a more lengthy list of different groups, but like we mentioned, the intentions is in the next 3 weeks to have another presentation, maybe not as long, with key points and with focal points on the different updates that we've had. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Going down the list, I'll skip the members of my team. Aishira?
Yes, I think this is a great presentation, and thank you for keeping us informed and looking forward to more cooperation and collaboration.
Thank you. Thank you. Eve?
I also would like to add, this was a great initiative. I mean, they said it all, so I didn't want to be repetitive. But yes, indeed, thank you. It's no more wondering what is going on with the airport, but now we're getting it live and direct. So I appreciate this initiative that you all are starting off with, and keep up the good works. Keep it going.
Thank you. Thank you. Dustin?
Excellent presentation. Thanks you all for this. The only thing that comes to mind beyond the lovely form and the restructuring of the airport is I've spent probably 25 years living in airports, it seems like, around the world. And one of the trends that I know seems to happen everywhere from MIA to Los Angeles to London is they allocate space for displays. I've seen everything from child's drawings in Miami Airport to professional artist displays to photographic displays to pieces of history displayed on wall displays. You know, you walk down the hallway and there'd be 25 feet of 6-inch deep glass cabinets where they have things like this that show the personality of the area that you're in. And I just wonder, maybe down the road, if there's a way to design this, perhaps in the departure area, that you know, kids from Prince William Alexander School might be able to put in their colored drawings of the St. Martin flags and things like that to bring a little warmth and personality of St. Martin to the airport, the history of the island, going back to Steel Pan. I remember there was the big painting by Roland Richardson that was in the original last arrival baggage claim area. The huge flamboyant tree, I believe, was painted by him. So that's just a feedback that I notice in a lot of their airports. They allocate wall space to, I'll say, culture and tone of the airport rather than just being a modern structure. It brings warmth to the person and the people of the island to it.
Thank you very much for that, Dustin, and for bringing that up. That, as a matter of fact, that is something that we have listed as well. We have allocated space for those artistic drawings. It's not on the walls, as if I believe so far. I think so far we have it designated to be in the floorings, at least in some areas, but it is something that we've been discussing, and we have identified some areas where we want to include those. And as you mentioned, at this point, we're still open to what those artistic, what those pieces of art or history will be, but we do definitely have those spaces allocated. But very good point as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And again, thank you all for the presentation. I know it was late on your day here, so I appreciate it all and appreciate the Minister of Finance joining us as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Cassandra Janssen.
Good evening. I received the notification a little late. It was via WhatsApp shared with the Raymond Group. So I don't know if maybe we can also use radio, Facebook, maybe newspaper to also make the notification in advance so that more people can tune in and you will have some more participants for the next time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you, Cassandra. We'll definitely consider that.
Yeah, and thank you again for reaching out to other stakeholders. That is indeed much appreciated, like all the other members mentioned.
Thank you. And just as a reminder, in case you guys missed it, the idea is that we'll be back here again on April 15th to be able to do another presentation again. So you can set it in your calendars already in advance, Cassandra. But thanks for that as well.
No problem. I mean, I will share it with the community group.
Perfect. Of course, Audrey will be our main contact person, so she'll be able to, she'll be the one dealing with the invitations and stuff like that.
Definitely.
And then we have Bridget Holly.
Yes, good evening. First of all, I'd like to comment on Dustin's proposal about the cultural and artistic venues. And the Sun Sand walkway would be a very nice area to display the different beaches on St. Martin, as well as to local cultural. Because if you look at Aruba, they have a lot of different cultural stuff that they hang up in the walls and in the roofs. And that brings a very homely feeling and gives a taste of the island also.
Thank you. Thank you very much. As a matter of fact, talking about the roof, I don't know if you guys noticed, but we did have, let's see on what slide that was.
It was butterflies or something in the roof. We noticed that, but we want to see more local, maybe like pelicans or, local stuff.
Okay, point taken, point taken. Thank you very much for that.
It can be seasonally also, like with Carnival, you do display more carnival stuff.
Yeah.
Great idea. Thank you.
Yes, we'll definitely be taking these into consideration. And last but not least on my list, I see the Minister of Finance is still here. Minister, any last words?
Yes, great job on the presentation for what I've seen. I feel a little bad that, first of all, I'd like to thank Cassandra Janssen for sending me the link. She said, hey, your friends are on Zoom. And I was like, my friends? Because my friends didn't send me the link. So, friends.
That's a nice one. That's a good one.
So yes, I think in regards to, I believe it maybe was Cassandra that mentioned earlier. If Cassandra didn't send me the link, I wouldn't have known. And I know you reached out to different community councils and so forth, but even though St. Martin is a small island, and persons have, I think I'm close enough to St. Peter's and South Reward, but I don't know if I'm part of the collective. I know I'm part of the basin, but I think even like Damien, on Twitter and so forth, where you have another group of St. Martin and so forth, that you could just send the link there, because I think once we get the message out as much as possible, and I was speaking to the management team about this a few weeks back, that we have to start to give more hope to our community, right? So having the visuals, the 3D renderings, having persons see what the future would look like, it gives us something to look forward to, because especially for all of us that have experienced a hurricane and saw the damage of what the island looked like in 2017, it's really like going through the video and so forth and seeing and just remembering what it felt like to be in the airport again made me feel good. It made me feel good to know, hey, in the next 2 years, we'll be back on top again. So I believe as much as possible, we have to continue to give hope. Show the renderings, chop up the footage. I know Audrey and Damon, you guys come from the marketing world, and if you could do that a little bit more, I think it'd be a great thing for our community.
Definitely. Thank you,
Thank you
Minister.
very much. And now I have more power to go to my director and say, hey, we need to chop up these videos.
Well, actually, this will be a great time to let them know that we have videos upcoming for the Rebuild, Recover, Reinvent campaign. It's a TV campaign. They're going to have once a month, 15-minute videos with interviews and updates about the airport terminal reconstruction project. Given my experience, I'm going to be hosting it, and we'll be having the managing boards on. We'll be doing more walkthroughs of the building, having our project management unit teams director, Mr. Mito Brill, and his other team members, talk a little bit more about what is going on. So I think people is a lot more visual, like you mentioned. So that is actually the way forward. We're supposed to have the first episode, hopefully by the first week of April, where we will do production as well. So I'm editing, and we have a team who will be dealing with the broadcasting and the videography and so forth.
Definitely. And just to add to that, there's a couple of different things that we're doing as well that, with the main goal of really trying to get the information out there. One of the ideas that we came up with as well, and I'm just kind of throwing it out there to see what the impression would be in this group. But one of the ideas that we were thinking about is before the construction really starts, we're interested in trying to get a few people here down to the airport to give them a walkthrough, give them a similar presentation to this, but allow them to see pictures and really do a walk through the building to see what the building was looking like. So let me know if you guys would think that's a good idea and if that's something that we should move forward with, or you don't really see it.
Yes, can I chime in there quick, Damon?
Sure.
And then that'll be my last statement before I leave. I expect a little bit more from you. I thought you would have said come down to the airport and we would have our HTC goggles so you could feel the airport in virtual reality. So I hope that your superiors are hearing me. So you could go to HTC, buy the 3D virtual reality goggles, hook them up, and they can sit down and experience our new airport in virtual reality. I look forward.
I love it.
I could do that in my living room. We don't need it at the airport.
Damien, you can throw up a Matterport right now, and you can get a 3D of what the airport looks like. Right
no,
now.
It's not a thing. I need to have the goggles on.
This is why you're the Minister of Finance and Innovation.
Well, we'll check with the finance minister to see if we can get some additional funding for that.
I wasn't going to put that in yet. No, but that's definitely a good idea as well. Minister, I need to warm them up. I need to warm them up first. But thank you for that. So you guys let me know if you think that's a good idea as well, for us to be able to, have persons here really doing the walkthroughs in the building and really experiencing what it is and seeing the pictures and the renderings in person or even in 3D.
Excellent
like
idea.
Good. So we have two
I love
it. Sounds good. Sounds good. We're on the right track. So with that, and since we've been through everyone, Michelle, anything from your end? We're still not hearing.
She's been having a bit of difficulty. Yeah. So she is speaking, but she's having a difficulty. Yeah. That's the environmentalist and the social safeguard of the PMU. She did send a message in the chat.
Yeah. So she did message to say to give her apologies for whatever reason she's having some technical issues. I thought it was maybe resolved now, but that's okay. Hopefully on the next time we'll get to meet her. And then with that said, I'll pass the floor back over to Mirto before we close. Thank you very much for being here though. Very much appreciate your attention, your feedback, and your input in this presentation.
I am very happy with the job you did, Damien. I appreciate that everyone can see that it's not just myself who can do presentations. We have a full team that knows what's going on. They can answer all your questions fluently, and they're very much engaged in what's going on here at the project. We do really appreciate you guys tuning in, and there's a lot more to come. Thanks, Damien.
Thank you.
Thank you. And of course, we want to pass it back over to Audrey now, who did a wonderful job of arranging yet another public outreach campaign. As she mentioned, we've been doing these sessions since October. And of course, this does not include all the press releases and all the work that we've been trying to do our best to get the word out. And of course, we're trying to step that up as much as possible and build on top as we go. So all the input that we get would really help. And that's why these sessions are so important to us as well. I'm seeing here Michelle apologizes again. So with that said, I'm passing this back over to Audrey, who will be able to wrap up in case there's anything else. And thanks again, team, for really being, for coming out, sharing the link, and for being present.
All right, thank you, Damien. Great presentation, as well as Mirto Brill from the Project Management Unit team. Michelle as well is on the call, so thank you as well for being here. I know it's late. We'll have a lot more for the community, and we'll move forward with our public outreach campaign with the ABVO and the WICSU unions and the St. Maarten Civil Aviation and Met Office. So we'll just keep it going. And Damien, you mentioned when is the upcoming dates for the next meeting for the community district councils? I think you said April 15th.
Correct, April 15th. And these are some of the topics that we plan to be sharing. And of course, what we usually do is actually adjust it depending on what's happening at the time. But in so far, this is some of the topics that we plan to be talking about.
Oh, thank you. My motto is definitely to continue pushing only the accomplishments and the milestones of the airport. That is what's important to push out there. And I'm happy to say that there have been some great milestones this week. So we'll continue to push those information out there, like Damien mentioned, through press releases, social media, website, you name it. We're going to be doing a lot more with the videos, and we'll let you guys know a little bit more about that. Thank you so much, everyone, for being online.
I guess everybody goes above.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Stop.